Today we're going to talk about ideas that don't work and why you should stop working on your project right now if you don't truly believe in what you're doing. Stay tuned. We all have ideas all the time. Ideas that we think that they are incredible, that they're going to change the world, that they're going to be a game changer in an industry. So we're always, if you're an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about ways to improve processes or bring value to an industry or a market, etc. So when you're working on a startup, you have to convince people around you that that idea is worth it. In a lot of situations, you're going to face critics and people that will say that that idea is not going to work, right? But you are so convinced that your idea is worth it that you start working on it, you start developing it, you start putting the pieces of a puzzle together. And in that process, there is one important component in the whole equation, and that's money, funding it. So usually the first things that we do is like we tap into our savings, and then once we run out of money from our own personal finances, we tap into friends and family. Although if you talk to some entrepreneurs, especially like Silicon Valley and those areas where there are a lot of startups and entrepreneurs, that will tell you that the best way to start a company is with other people's money. But that's not the case in all the situations. So you have to start however you can start if you truly believe that your idea is gonna have a positive impact in whatever area that you're gonna develop your company. So convincing people is the key, right? You have to convince them that it's worth spending the money, it's the reputation and time on that idea. Remember in 2005 or earlier than 2005, how complicated it was to launch a website, right? I remember even when my brother started his website development company, he needed to have web designers and programmers to create most of the projects that he was working on, because it wasn't like it is today where you can find templates and you have WordPress themes that you can customize in no time, and they're super affordable. You can get a theme for like $59, $30, depending on how many pages the theme has, etc. Back in the days, it was super expensive to launch a website. You were talking about $5,000, $10,000, depending on how much functionality you wanted to have on your website. And speaking of functionality or features, one of them was like, I want to be able to collect money on my site. I want to be able to collect credit cards and take payments online. And if you think about before PayPal, that was a big challenge, like trying to connect the proper services so you could handle those type of transactions on your site. And speaking of PayPal, let me show you this video from Elon Musk. It was right after he sold his first company. He sold it for $400 million. And after that, he decided that he still have some use in his repertoire. And he's an amazing entrepreneur. And we could talk about hours about all the accomplishments that he has had in his entrepreneurial life. But let's just take a look at this video so we can hear him talking about PayPal.
So this is an ATM. What we're going to do is transform the traditional banking industry.
I do not fit the picture of a banker. X.com. This is Julie.
Raising $50 million is a matter of making a series of phone calls, and the money is there. I've sunk the great majority of my net worth into X.com, which is the new banking and mutual funds company on the internet that I've started.
Big X.
Exactly. X.com.
I think X.com could absolutely be a multi-billion dollar bonanza. Because if you look at the industry that X is pursuing, it's the biggest sector of the world.
Said, X.com might be a multi-million dollar bonanza. Oh my God, it's like it's crazy to see, over the years how many successful companies like PayPal and Amazon and Facebook and Apple uh, have gotten to the stage where they are right now. I mean, it is incredible when you follow the trajectory of all these companies. But I mean, like to have that vision that Elon had, years ago about PayPal is pretty impressive. So it's when you have an idea and you have the gut feeling that it's gonna be something that can change an industry or change a market, just go with it. As far as you can go. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to accomplish your goals. If you have the feeling that it's gonna revolutionize an industry or a market, just go for it. And right now that we are going through a process where we're working on fine tuning some strategies for one of the projects, I have learned that business plan. I mean, they're like a guide, but most business plans become obsolete after you launch the business because you start facing some challenges that even if you have a very well understanding of the industries, the business plan is just gonna change. Just because the nature of your project is different. You're not trying to work under the same rules of a certain industry or a market. I mean, when Elon Musk launched X.com, which later became PayPal, he wanted to revolutionize the financial banking system. So uh, that's why he had like a guide. He knew where he wanted to go, but I'm sure that in the beginning there were a lot of different scenarios that he had to handle, and those scenarios were not contemplated in the business plan. So work on your business plan. I'm not saying don't create a business plan for your startup. Just make sure that there are gonna be a lot of variables that are gonna change the direction of your business plan one way or another. So you have to be prepared to that. I mean, the trick is to take your idea to the market as soon as possible, and that's what you have to work on. And once you're in the marketplace, then you start fine tuning, the different issues, barriers, challenges, opportunities that come your way. And if you get to that process where you start gaining some traction, you're going to have the opportunity to reach out to folks for potential investments, right? And when you start a company that you think is going to solve a problem for thousands of people, you have to send a message out that people that it's around you trust in that message. You can have all the bells and whistles in your office and in your environment, but if you don't send out that message that your idea is going to revolutionize an industry or a market, I don't think that you're going to get that far. So that's why it's so important that you communicate that message to your stakeholders, to your employees, and to everyone that has latch on your idea, everyone that is convinced that you can make things happen. And in the start of life, you spend a lot of time thinking about what might happen and preparing for it. Just listen to this interview of Mark Zuckerberg in the beginnings of the Facebook.
If somebody was to put the question to you about the magnitude of what you think you've launched, how big do you think your product or your service is?
Well, it's impossible to tell. When we first launched, we were hoping for, maybe 400, 500 people. Harvard didn't have a Facebook, so that's the gap that we were trying to fill. And now we're at 100,000 people, so who knows where we're going next. We're hoping to have many more universities by the fall, hopefully over 100 or 200. And from there, we're going to launch a bunch of side applications, which should keep people coming back to the site and maybe could make something cool.
What is the Facebook exactly?
It's an online directory that connects people through universities and colleges through their social networks there. You sign on, you make a profile about yourself by answering some questions, entering some information such as your concentration or major at school, contact information about phone numbers, instant messaging screen names, anything you want to tell, interests, what books you like, movies, and most importantly, who your friends are. And then you can browse around and see who people's friends are and just check out people's online identities and see how people portray themselves and just find some interesting information.
See from Mark Zuckerberg interview, I mean, when you launch a company, you really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they were expecting 500 to 600 people at Facebook.com when they launched in Harvard. And I love how he talks about adding applications, to try to keep people more engaged, coming back to the site. I don't think that Mark had the vision that Facebook was going to become in such this powerhouse worldwide. But that's what I was telling you earlier. When you launch your company, you have to have a game plan and have a vision of where you want to go. But the market is pretty much going to dictate how far you can go. Facebook started in a university, and then he wanted to start adding other campuses from different universities into the Facebook.com. And I put emphasis on the Facebook because, when you have to put attention on what type of domains you get for your business. And these days, it's very difficult to find good domains. And, sometimes I get frustrated because I search for domains and I found some really good ones that I want to use for some of the programs or initiatives that we're launching through the business associations that I'm running. And, the last one, it was like $35,000 to buy it, $250,000 to buy it. So there are definitely good domains out there, and some of them are going to be very pricey. And if you know that your company must use that domain, it's worth the investment. But sometimes you can, go around with some other ideas. But you have to expect the unexpected when you launch a business, and you always have to be prepared for whatever comes your way. Like I remember, when my brother launched his company in Mexico, he bought some servers, and he first had them on my mom's home, and then they were using so much energy and getting some so warm that then he moved to another location, an office. Then I moved to San Diego, and they say, you know what, maybe we should collocate now our service in San Diego because, when infrastructure is growing. And we went from like a couple of servers to 6 servers, which for us, it was like a big infrastructure, right? And one of the things that I hated the most, it was when we will receive a call from the engineers in Morelia saying like, Tayde, the servers crash. I was like, and that could happen like in the middle of the night or, like in the middle of the day. And I remember like a couple of years when we have those servers, I was working full time. So if the servers crash, I will go, during lunchtime or after work, and I will connect and I will receive instructions from the engineers on what comments to type in into the servers. It was such a pain in the, oh my God, I can still remember spending hours in the middle of the night trying to get the servers back on, because they were at that time servicing uh, campaigns, for governors, senators, etc. So it was very important to have the infrastructure up and running, because it wasn't just like the website. The website was the list of their concerns. It was just like there were some other like key parts of campaigns that were on these servers, that the information was very valuable to take uh, strategic decisions on how the campaign was going to go, just to give you an example. But there were other projects, with the government and stuff. So every time that the servers crashed, it was a top priority for us to like get them up and running. And if I couldn't get the job done, then we will have to fly one of the engineers to San Diego so that he could work on it. I mean, I remember those days, and it's crazy. So remember, when you are launching your startup, you have to expect the unexpected and be always prepared to handle all these situations. Like the servers, for example. And I still remember Jenny 1, Jenny 2, Jenny 3, Jenny 4, Jenny 5, Jenny 6. That's how we named them. And good times, good memories, and definitely good experiences. So at a startup, it's hard to get a single thing right, much less a whole bunch of things. That's one thing that I put on my notes that I wanted to share with you guys. But one trait of great entrepreneurs is to do the impossible. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, they are all geniuses at what they do. And they did it once, and their odds for doing it again are exponentially higher. That's why Elon Musk sold his first company. He created some reputation. Then he created PayPal, keep building his reputation, and then Tesla and SpaceX and all the other companies that he has right now. And the same with Bezos, and the same with Mark Zuckerberg. So, once when you first present an idea, not too many people are gonna believe in you because you don't have that track record. But once you make it once, like I said earlier, your possibilities of making it the second time, the third time, are just higher. Just take a look at this. Watch this little interview of Bezos in the beginnings of Amazon. It's pretty interesting.
Hi there, who are you?
I'm Jeff Bezos.
And what is your claim to fame?
I'm the founder of Amazon.com.
Where did you get an idea for Amazon.com?
Well, 3 years ago, I was in New York City working for a quantitative hedge fund when I came across the startling statistic that web usage was growing at 2,300% a year. So I decided I would try and find a business plan that made sense in the context of that growth. And I picked books as the first best product to sell online, which are making a list of like 20 different products that you might be able to sell. And books were great as the first best because books are incredibly unusual in one respect, and that is that there are more items in the book category than there are items in any other category by far. Music is number 2. There are about 200,000 active music CDs at any given time. But in the book space, there are more than 3 million different books worldwide active and in print at any given time across all languages. More than 1.5 million in English alone. So when you have that many items, you can literally build a store online that couldn't exist any other way. And that's important right now because the web is still an infant technology. Basically right now, if you can do things using a more traditional method, you probably should do them using the more traditional method.
How beautiful is that? To think about a website where consumers could have access to millions of books from authors from around the world was pretty genius, and that was Bezos' idea. But I'm pretty sure that when he was talking about it to his friends and family and colleagues, etc., they were like, nah, Bezos, that idea won't work. Stop wasting your time. You can't compete with the big distributors. You can't compete with the big bookstores. You're not gonna make it Stop wasting your time, stop wasting your money, your resources. But he was determined, and look where Amazon is right now. It's one of the largest companies in the world. So next time that someone tells you that your idea won't work, don't listen to them. Remember that nobody knows anything. You have to follow your guts. You have to focus on your dream. And when your dream becomes a reality, that dream doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the people that help you, and it belongs eventually to the world, because it's going to get so widely used that it's not just your friends anymore. It's not just like a university campus like how Facebook started. Now Facebook belongs to the world because they have billions of users on their platform. So you see this often in successful startups. The business gets off the ground because of the focus, the dedication, creativity of a small group of dedicated people. If you have a dedicated team around you that believe in your idea, that are going to support you to make that dream come true, that's when ideas become reality. So next time that someone tells you that your idea won't work, again, remember, nobody knows anything. Stay focused on your game plan. Stay focused on your idea. Make it happen, and you will probably be one of the next Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs of the world. Nobody knows anything, remember? Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.